Welcome to the RMFJ podcast with your host, Rick Jones.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the RMFJ podcast. I'm Rick Jones, and today I have KC Boutiette, or I can say Boutiette or Boutiette, but I'm going to say Boutiette. I was pre-cleared by you on both of those, but before I let you talk, I have to, I'm going to read your bio. And before I read the bio, anyone, please go subscribe. Hey, you know what? We're now on YouTube, and just got the channel launched there. We've been on podcasts, and everyone listens on podcasts and on Spotify. But go listen on YouTube, too. It's the RMFJ podcast. Easy to find. Click subscribe, please. You're awesome. All right. KC Boutiette, born April 11th, 1970. You're old. In Tacoma. You're like 4 months younger than me. 2 months younger than me. Damn it. Born in Tacoma, Washington, is an accomplished American speed skater known for pioneering the transition from inline skating to long track ice speed skating. He competed in 4 Winter Olympics, which is 4-ish more than me. 1994 in Lillehammer, 1998 in Nagano, where he won a bronze medal in the team pursuit, which is super badass. 2002 in Salt Lake City, and 2006 in Turin. Boutiette has been a member of the U.S. national team for multiple world single distance and all-around championships, showcasing his versatility across distances like the 1,000-meter, 1,500-meter, and 5,000-meter. Remarkably, at age 55, yeah, you're younger than me, it sucks, he competed in the 1,000-meter at the U.S. Olympic trials for the 2026 Milano Cortina Games, aiming not for qualification, but to inspire others and chase Masters world records. So cool. Beyond skating, he's a business owner of Rocket 7, a company specializing in custom cycling shoes based in Erie, Colorado, and he's a husband and father of 2. His career highlights his resilience, having started ice skating later in life after inline success, and he continues to train and compete into his mid-50s. KC Boutiette, you are a badass human. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
I'm good. A little tired with all that, chatting there.
I'm tired too. I think we're done.
No, I've got 3 kids.
3 kids.
Yeah, 3 kids, and a 6-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 13-year-old. And the 10-year-old has special needs. So, yeah.
Wow. So yeah, Okay. Wow. So 3 kids. Okay. Very cool. And so you're able to be home though and help and be like now you are, right? Not traveling as much.
Yeah. I help out as much as I can. My wife, she works full time. She's my sponsor pretty much. Everywhere nice. I go, it's paid for by her.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. And then we have a mutual friend, Scott Cantu.
Man,
is it too early to bring him up?
No. he was at an early part of my life, high school. Man, we had a blast. Tell you what, that guy, wrestling was a part of the blood of the Cantus. And man, I remember going over to his house and upstairs and in Tacoma, you think you're living in, a pretty decent neighborhood. You go to somebody's house and it's like, wow, this is great. You got actually grass, and we don't. And go upstairs to his room, and I think it was him and his brother, and you could see on the ceiling, because it wasn't a straight ceiling. It was just, very small houses, compared to today's standards, and all the wrestling champion charts that were on the ceiling. And I didn't know what a chart was. In junior high I sucked. I was just really bad. And then I got in high school, I got better. And then over at Cantu's house I see like 20 of these charts just all pinned up, and man, it was just a part of their blood. And yeah, I was very impressed with Mr. Cantu. I got some memories of him. He was just a beast on the mat. I love that dude.
He's still a beast. I would never wrestle the guy, but he's still a beast. You
can't even mess around with him. Like the other day, not the other day, I was looking at videos on my phone, going through it, trying to, I was looking for something, and we were at Spud's Pizza. This was when Mr. Stern, our coach, was still around. And so a bunch of the guys got together. We're in the parking lot just chatting, and I'm videotaping Doogie. He's a good friend of ours as well. And And Doogie was the big time wrestler. Before wrestling practice started, Doogie was out there he'd put the weight belt on backwards and walk around like it was his WWF belt. And we're out in the parking lot, and I'm videotaping Doogie talking crap. And Scott comes up and says, "What are you videotaping my boy?" And he just pops me. And I'm like, I'm in the car, and he just reaches into the car and just smacks me. And it's just hilarious that he just comes over and does that. No warning, no nothing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's a bruiser. Well, he's still in a physical field, too, because he's a prison guard.
Exactly.
He's still doing that. And he was just the other day.
You got to have balls to do that.
Jeez, yeah, the other day, I hadn't seen him in forever. And we went to dinner with our wives, and he had just been like in a skirmish like 5 days before, just like punched like 5 times and all kinds of stuff. Just crazy, yeah. And he's like, "Oh, it's just part of the job." Like, geez,
yeah, he's the guy to do it, though. I mean, he just comes in hot and doesn't even think about it. So he's perfect for that.
So wrestling with him, yeah, and he might have had a couple beers in him and did. He told me to ask you about if you had any sort of memories of South Kitsap.
Oh, yeah, South Kitsap. Yeah, I had a feeling that might arise if Cantu's name was around.
And he gave a partial story. He said to ask you about it. And I go, I don't know if I want to ask him about it because I feel like whatever this is leading to might be rude. And I don't know if I want to start. But I did. I just did. So, you can bite on that or not. That's up to you, Casey.
It's funny. It's interesting because so many things would happen, like on the bus, at these places. And that year is when I started growing. It was like when I was a junior and senior in high school, I started to get, I went into high school and I was, I think, 95 pounds, and the lowest weight class was 101. So, and our best guy, Kenny Friano, who I thought was just amazing, he was a senior, and he'd just mop me up around the mat. But I did notice that all the tough matches, he wouldn't make weight. And then the JV guy, me, would have to go in there and get my ass whooped by, Clarkston Richard, these guys that are state champs already. And it was a good experience. I didn't mind it at all. But then the following year, we didn't have a 101 pounder, so we all tried to drop down a weight. And it was really hard for me because I'm growing and I'm really skinny as it was. And we were doing what needed to be done to lose weight, running with bags on. Now that I look back, I ran so many miles and did so much stuff just to lose weight. But I started taking X-Lax. And that's the O. Yeah.
I think I know where this is going.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope. and when you're not eating for a day, because I had a whole routine, you go after practice, I was probably, the day before a match, I was probably 5-6 pounds overweight and sometimes 7 pounds overweight, and you had to lose it in a night. So I'd go home and I'd eat dinner, even with that being overweight. I don't know what I would eat, probably corn dogs and just crap. And then I'd go running. And I'd run probably 3 miles, 4 miles. And now that I think about it, we did some serious miles. I remember seeing Mike Fontana out there running, he's living in the other side of the city, and I'm like running past him, and we kind of know what's going on. And then I get home, I jump under a bunch of blankets and have the bath run and jump under, and after I eat dinner, I take the X-Lax. And sometimes it'd kick in really fast, sometimes it wouldn't. So I would do this whole running routine. It'd take about an hour. And then, jump under these blankets, still sweating. And then I'd jump in the bath, still sweating, and then get out of the bath and usually have to use the bathroom. But didn't happen that night. And then I went to work. I used to work at UPS washing trucks. And I would run. I'd miss the bus on purpose, and I'd run downtown from my house, which was near the Tacoma Mall. And then catch the bus down there, go to Fife, and then have to run from I think it was 99. Can't remember. Anyway, I'd have to run across I-5 to get to the Fife UPS store or UPS where the trucks were and start washing trucks. I'd be there for 3-4 hours, sweating and spitting and all that stuff. So in the morning, I'd usually be underweight, but it was a little different. Didn't use the bathroom, didn't do anything, and I was overweight. So I'd have to run during the day, and that day in particular, I just didn't understand why I couldn't use the bathroom. But we get to Kitsap, and I make weight, and then I take I had this whole process of, ice cream and protein mix and bananas and all this stuff, and I'm drinking it down and eating a sandwich before my match. And mind you, this stuff doesn't digest that fast, and you weigh in and it's almost like go time. And I was the low weight, I think it was 122 at the time. And so I've got this big belly full of food.
Oh, no.
And wrestling the match that was whoever won this match would be seated number 1 going into the city, tournament. Mm-hmm. He was the best guy and I was the best guy, and this is the match. And I was nervous because he was strong and just a known good wrestler. It'd be like me wrestling Cantu, to be scared shitless. So
I feel like that's foreshadowing.
Yeah. So I get out there and I just feel this guy is so strong, and I ankle pick him, sweet ankle pick, just drop him, and then I get the 2 points. And then if we back up to the match before me, the kid that was wrestling was getting hurt constantly. So it got to a point where the crowd was just like, dude, is this guy faking? It was just like, oh, this and that. It stopped the match like 2-3 times. And then when I took this guy down, he did a sit out, and then his shoulder was in my stomach. Uh-oh. And he picks me up, and I didn't want to give him the reversal points. So I what we do is it's what they call in freestyle a crotch though. So I reached over his back, reached between his legs, locked my hands, and when he was bringing me down to the mat, my back would hit the mat, and then I would throw him, and he'd only get 1 point because then we would start back up again. So when he picked me up, brought me down, and as I tightened everything up and went to throw him, just went, just an explosion. And I was just like, and then I just rolled over, and then I kind of crawled off the mat. And the whole crowd goes, oh, because the match before me, this was happening, and now it's happening to me. Yeah. So, and it's funny because this is all videotaped. It's all, I didn't see the video for years after, and then my buddy Alan Sanchez, his dad records everything, so he sent me the tape, and it's freaking hilarious. The story's kind of long, but that was the gist of it. And I remember standing up and just kind of like standing there like you just shit your pants.
Yeah.
And the ref's like, "What's the matter?" And I go, I just shit my pants.
Yeah.
And
use all your tools, right?
And then we walk over, and we got the coaches that come out, videotaping the whole thing. It's just hilarious. And I'm talking to the assistant coaches, and I tell them what happened, and they're checking me out. And the coach Stern, he goes over to the ref. He's like, "What's the matter?" And the ref's like, "You got to talk to him." Comes over and asks me, "What's the matter?" And I'm like, "I just shit my pants." And he stands back like this, and he's like, "Well, you got to wrestle." And I mean, at that moment, my heart just sank, and it wasn't just me. I feel bad for the kid. Yeah. But you couldn't see it wasn't coming out because I had underwear, I had tights on, and a singlet. So it wasn't, and it was just all, I shouldn't say it was just all water, but there was a mixture in there of nasty. But so we continued to wrestle, and then after the first round, I'm laying on the mat on my back, just kind of questioning life. And, and Cantu's like, "Come on, Booty." That was my nickname in school, was Booty. And then you start hearing the laughing and all that, and it was just, oh my God, it was pretty. I grew up a lot that night. X-Lax and all that aside, after the match was over, I lost, and I could keep going on with the match, but I'm going to make it as short as I can. And I go off and I take my underwear and flush them down the toilet, and don't have any clothes. I'm rinsing everything out, and I put my wrestling, oversuit back, my warm-ups back on, and I come back out and sit on the bench. And this is one of those these memories I have of my coach, which, I don't remember a ton of stuff in high school. And he comes up to me after, he's like, "What are you doing out here?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Not any other human or kid that I know, if this happened to them, they would be hiding their head in, not out here where you were just at." He's like, that takes balls, kid. You came out here and you're showing heart. And I'm like, it happened. I can't stop it. You can't change it. And what am I going to do? Just go hide? No, I'm going to come out here and try to support the team. And so that was the good memory. But the funny thing is I always tell people, because it was an away match, and to end it off, because nobody at school knew about it, and so I was like, okay, I need a better finish to this story, and I would say, the announcements the next day at school, they were like talking about, the basketball team or the wrestling team or whatever was going on, and so Cantu pinned his guy, blah blah blah. And at the end of the announcements, if everything was said and done, it said, and KC Boutiette wrestled a crappy match last night, and just went off the air. And every time I would say that, everyone just laughs, because this is a great way to finish. Like now everyone in the school is going to find out that you shit your pants on the wrestling match. So no, that was Kitsap. Yeah.
There we go. That's great. I have to say, Casey, this is the most unusual start to any podcast that I've had so far, I believe.
Yeah, it's full of shit.
I've not had a story like that. That's freaking amazing. I love. I see. You wrestled in high school, and then you got inline skating.
Yep.
And you became very accomplished in that. How that transition happen?
Well, I always skated when I was a kid on the regular 4-wheel quad skates, and then I went from the quad skates. Then I started wrestling and started doing school sports. So I kind of stopped that for a while. But I always had that fitness, so that's why I was good at wrestling. I was like, I'd have to wait till the third round to beat people up, because I wasn't strong. I didn't have the power that all these other, if I was tall and skinny at my weight, because I was growing, I'm wrestling these little muscle guys, so I'd have to wait till they get tired, and then I can beat them up in the third round and always near fall them. And but I stopped doing the skating for years, and then went back after. I would skate a little bit here and there. I'd go race or whatever. Even just out of high school, I was doing that. But when I was 20, 21, I started skating a little bit more again on the quads, and then the inline rollerblade type skates came out, and that's when we all went to this. Nobody knew if the quad skates were faster or the inline skates were faster. So we go to this event in Florida, and people are wearing quads. Some people are wearing inlines. Nobody knew which one was faster. So I'm on the inlines because I knew they were faster, because where I practiced, this girl, Vicky King, I was still on quads. And to this day, I think her dad, who was the coach of the team, and he would buy all the equipment. He kept me on quads for a long time, a lot longer than I should have been, because he was like, well, your boots aren't here, because I bought these custom or these heat moldable inline skate boots where you put a frame on them, and it took months and months and months for them to come. And so I was on my quads. This girl was on her inline skates, and we're same speed. Like, she went from being behind me, then she puts the inlines on, and then now she's in front of me, and sometimes, beating me. And so I had a feeling he was like keeping me on my quad skates, so it would be good, competition for her. Anyway, my inlines came out. I set them up, got, really fast. It was night and day. Like 2 days later, I'm blowing everybody out. And I knew from what she was doing with me on my quads that inlines were way faster. So we go to this event in Florida, and I win the first Grand Open, and it's just like all these people, and it was great. It was a great race for me. I won. And then that was an indoor race. And then we went outdoor a couple days later, and I won a lot of those races as well. Then I got a sponsor. And that sponsor, I started traveling around the U.S. almost every weekend. And then, I started making money at it. Then I quit my job. I was actually a pro. And then I won the national championship. I won a lot of the things that I won on inlines. I was like, okay, how can I get even better? And that's how my mind was always like, okay, how can I get better? And so I was thinking, okay, let's go try the ice, because the ice skaters have this perfect technique. And I was like, all right, let's go get some ice skates. So I bought some ice skates. I would go try ice. Couldn't do it at all. It was just so hard. And then one day I'm like, well, at the end of my inline season, I accomplished everything I wanted to. I have a couple months. I'm going to go train on the ice out in Milwaukee, jump on a bus, fire out to Milwaukee. I get some blades that put on my inline boots. And after a few weeks, because I'm watching everybody that's there, so I'm learning it, what I'm seeing. I don't. Back then, there's no video cameras, nothing like that. There's no technology that you can use to get better. So after a couple weeks, I'm at this party with all these other speed skaters, and they're drinking, and this is 2 weeks before Olympic trials. Now, mind you, if we back up, I did qualify for Olympic trials back then in 1993 for the 1994 Olympics. And that was the goal, is just try to qualify in every event. And I was like, wow, that's great. Like my first race, I qualified. I was like, that's awesome. Now the next goal is try to qualify in everything. But 2 weeks before trials, I saw this video of a guy who was a distance skater. Now, mind you, I'm only watching Dan Jansen, Bonnie Blair, these sprinters with these long, powerful strokes. And me, coming from inline, it's just you throw the strokes in, you're really high tempoed. So I see at this party, this guy, Johan Olive Koss, and he's got this tempo like me. And I'm like, wow, that guy skates like me on inlines. And he's the best in the world right now. So I asked the guy, he's actually the current coach of the sprint U.S. team. He's over at the Olympics right now, Ryan Shimabukuro. And so I asked him to borrow this tape, and he's like, yeah, no problem. Just make sure I get it back. Because Ryan used to have all these crazy tapes from all these competitions and just play them. I thought it was awesome. So I took this tape, and I started watching it. And a couple of days later, I go, man, I need a video camera because I got to see what I look like. And so I go buy a video camera, and back then, a $1,400 video camera in 1993 was like buying a Porsche. And
remember that.
So it was the new small tape, CVHSC, whatever the hell it was, a little VHS tapes in there. Started videotaping myself, watching this Johan Olive Koss, checking my video out, all these things. And I started to improve daily. And then I was like, wow, it's working. So I would watch this video, and I kid you not, like 10 hours a day. And watching this video, I put my mind into this guy's body, and I try to mimic everything he's doing. And then I'd just sit there and watch, because if I stood and tried to skate all day, my legs would get super tired, and then I wouldn't be able to skate on the ice the next day. So after 3 or 4 days, I'm like, wow, I just improved massively. My coach saw it. Even people who didn't really know me saw it. And then I'm like, wow, I need to start resting, because I think I might do well at Olympic trials. And this is in a week. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to take this week and rest. Normally a peak is about 3 weeks, 4 weeks out. You start resting, and then you start training hard, rest again, train hard, and you're ready to race. But I'm like, well, and I've been training hard because I'm trying to get better at inline skating. I didn't think I would make the Olympic team. So I'm like, well, let's rest up, see how well I can do. And so I rested up, and the first weekend in the 1500, I mean, I skated a personal best by like 2 seconds, and then the 5K was the next day, and I skated a personal best of 20 seconds, but I ended up winning the 5,000 meter at Olympic trials. Unexpected whatsoever, but I kind of expected it because I knew what I was doing in training. And I started to mentally focus, and I started to write my lap times down and mentally visualize what I was doing, or what I was going to do that weekend in these races. And I came within 2 seconds. I mean, this, mind you, I don't know anything about speed skating, nothing. And I'm doing this mental work from the practice that I'm doing, and I'm trying to race, and I'm dropping these times that people are like unbelievable. So that was how I switched from inline to ice and make the Olympic team in 6 weeks. I mean, I know you asked about how I made going with inline skating, but it kind of transitions right into the ice.
Yeah, it's incredible. That was in 1993.
Yeah, for the 1994 Olympics.
Yeah. And then you went to the Olympics. What was that like? I mean, I know you were in 4 of them, but what was it like going to the first one? I mean, that had to be amazing. I mean, I have goosebumps just watching it.
Coming from a sport of inline skating that has always been promised that it's going to be in the Olympics, always. And all of a sudden, I'm about to walk in to the opening ceremonies. I had this feeling come over me like, wow, I actually did it. And I mean, I never thought I'd ever be at the Olympics, because of our sport. Our sport's just limited to the World Championships. And I don't know how I got there. I mean, I know how I got there, but as I was walking in to the opening ceremonies, because they had it at the ski jump place in Norway, and I always kind of brushed things off as no big deal, not, don't really get too impressed with anything. And I started to tear up as I was walking in, and the cheers of the crowd and all that stuff. And that was when I realized I just did something special. And that was a moment and a time in my life I'll never forget.
I can't even imagine. I remember watching those opening ceremonies. Whenever I see the opening ceremony, the same thing. I think I tear up. I get goosebumps. It's just amazing. I can't even imagine representing the country. And then on the path you did, it sounded like it was, almost a surprise, right?
Dude, it
All of a
was
sudden,
so unexpected. And it was 6 weeks after I started skating I made the Olympic team, and then it was another 4 or 5 weeks. I don't remember exactly. Then I'm at the Olympics. But how I got to the Olympics, it wasn't because I won the Olympic trials. I mean, by rules, when I won the Olympic trials in the 5 and 10K, that puts me on the team. But I was having problems with our federation. They were doing whatever they could to keep me off the team for some stupid reason. It didn't make sense to me. But now that I look back, now that I look back, we didn't have a guy qualified in the 10,000 meter. So even if I went, I wouldn't have made it. I'm sorry. We didn't have a guy qualified by time. There was a top 32 times that you had to be in to skate the 5,000 meter. And then if you're in the 5,000 meter, then I think that they take the top 16 out of the 5,000 that skate the 10,000. Now, I won the 10,000 meter. So that means if whoever in the 5,000 in the U.S., if they made it to the 10K at the Olympics, I would get that spot. But at the time, we didn't have a 5K skater in the top 32. We ended up having a skater in the top 32, but our federation wasn't having it with me going over to the Olympics. So and I was totally fine with not going. I was just, happy with where I was at. I was going to go to the World Championships. I was going to hook up with a different, the junior team was over in Italy. I was going to go over there and train with them and the coaching staff and just be happy with my accomplishments because I was proud of myself. But I flew over to Germany to try to skate that qualifying time again. And dude, I mean, talk about a trip that was like I can't understand the language. I'm on a train in the middle of the night. I mean, it's dark, and I'm like, I don't know where to get off the train. I mean, they said this name Traunstein, but every time I'm hearing something from the train, I'm like, I don't understand what they're saying. And they're saying next stop, blah 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 blah, and I'm like, and I'm jet lagged, tired, just got off a plane, or 2 different planes, and I go, I'm going to fall asleep, and I'm not going to get off this train. I to this day, I still don't know how I arrived at the track. I somehow got there, but I was there at night. I didn't even know that there was a town like half mile up the road with grocery stores and restaurants and things like that. I'm at the rink because I don't know anything. And I'm there to skate a time. I'm staying at the hotel at the rink. So I'm out my window. I can see the ice. I can see all these things and all the kids skating and whatnot. And they were, anyway, so I go to skate another time. I don't get the time, and I start to break down. I'm like, yeah, this is a little bit too much for me. I started to get upset, and I called our manager for the rollerblade team, and so certain things started to get into rolling that I won the Olympic trials. I deserve to go to the Olympics because now we have this guy that qualified the time, and our federation's not sending me. So my sponsor, Rollerblade at the time, their attorneys got in touch with the Butch Reynolds attorneys from back in the day, and Butch Reynolds was kept out of the Olympics for a faulty drug test. And he ended up suing the federation for a lot of money because of what happened, because they didn't have the right to do that. So the Butch Reynolds case was faxed. That's what we did back then, as you know. Faxed over to the U.S. Federation. The next day I'm on a flight to Lillehammer.
Nice.
So that's actually, not a lot of people know that story, but that's how I got to the Olympics in 94. Even though I did legally qualify, and I bet you if I wouldn't have gone to the Olympics that year, I wouldn't have continued on. I would have just, I'll skate, I'll maybe have fun with it, but not take it serious. And then you most likely wouldn't have had the Apollo Ohnos, the Joey Cheeks, the Jen Rodriguez's, all the inline skaters right now that are out there. They would have come eventually because somebody would have figured it out, but it would have taken longer for those athletes to raise up through the ranks as quickly as they did. Yeah. So, Joey Cheek is the one who brought that to my attention. He's like, dude, if you wouldn't have gone to the Olympics in 94, and most likely 98 was where a lot of people, saw you do very well, then you wouldn't have had this influx of inline skaters that have come over because they're seeing this success. And they're like, well, I can do it too. And then they start trickling over. So
Yeah.
half the team, I think, is inline skaters now. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, you opened the door for them.
Yeah, it's fun.
Good for you. That's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, and Apollo Ohno, I mean, everyone knows that name too. Yeah, he's just killed it, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's
you,
a beast.
you friends with him?
I wouldn't say we go out to dinner all the time, but when we see each other, we chat and talk and have a good time. Because we grew up at the same roller rink, Patterson's West, in Federal Way. And,
that's right. Yeah, 'cause he's a local guy.
Yeah. He was from Federal Way, and although he tells everybody he's from Seattle because Federal Way back then wasn't even a city. But yeah, we grew up at the same place. We were on different levels. It was pretty. Someone said in his book, he mentioned me, and I was like, whoa. And I do remember the instance. We were racing. This is when I've already been to an Olympics, and I was a pro inline skater still. And we were doing an open race. It was like a 50 lapper, and Apollo was at the lowest age you could get in. So he was the youngest, and I'm a pro. Now, mind you, I don't skate much indoors, and he does a lot of indoors. And we're racing, and at a certain point of the race, I knew I wasn't going to win. And Apollo, small, coming up in the ranks, he passes me at a certain point of the race, and I can not vividly remember doing this, but I was actually skating behind him and kind of coming to the inside and then just backing out. And I was actually protecting his placement. Because if someone passes me, then they're going to pass him. And so I was kind of rolling up on him. I don't remember if I was pushing him or whatnot. But he mentioned that I gave up my placement so I could give it to him. And I mean, that he remembered that meant I was on a pedestal for him, which was really cool because, you look at Apollo, he's just, he was a beast back then in his age group, winning, very smart skater. And now that he's, in a different stratosphere with sport and Olympic medals and stuff, and then he mentions me, that was pretty good. That was pretty cool.
That's very cool. So tell me your favorite Olympic memory.
Olympic memory. Oh, my 10,000 meter in 1998. Skating that 10,000 was a special race for me because, I was going into 98, our best American with Casey Fitzrandolph. I was our middle to long distance guy. Casey was our sprinter. We were the two guys that were going for medals. And so I skated the 5,000 meter, the first day of the Olympics, just kind of as a warm up, just to get the Olympics out of me. Now, mind you, my first Olympics, I took last place. Dead last. Of all the people that were standing, I was dead last. And then this next one, every time you go through the media zone or all these interviews, is how are you going to do? How do you think you're going to do? And everyone wants you to say, I'm going to go for the gold. And I just wouldn't do it. And so I came up with this thing is I just want to do better than I did last time. So
Nice.
taking dead last, and then actually the year before the Olympics, I held the world record in the 1500 just for a day. But that was always my comeback to, how do you think you're going to do? And I just want to do better than I did last time. And it's an inside joke to me. And it was almost a little FU to a lot of the people looking for that, that USA thing. And I'm not going to, I just wasn't into it. But so the 5K was a kind of a wash race. And but me and my teammate qualified in the top 16. So we qualified 2 spots for the 10,000 meter. So the 1500 was next, and that was my gold medal race. That was the one I was shooting for. And I wouldn't say I was stubborn, but I wouldn't check my skates. Back then, it was like we didn't have all these gauges and all this stuff to check your skates. And but I didn't want to change anything. I was like, they are what they are. If I change them right now, something might be a little goofy. And every time you sharpen your skates, the radius on the blades can change. So, and if you strip an edge or something like that, you might have to grind a little longer to get that edge back. And if you grind a little longer in that one spot, it might make a flat spot. It might round it up, all these things. So I'm skating the 1500. I make a mistake in the second turn where I'm at top speed. My blade digs in. I kind of I don't know if you're watching the Olympics now, but Corey Stoddard, she's fallen 3 times with her blades digging in the ice and kind of just launching forward. Like the ice is soft, little things. And for me, it wasn't an ice. It wasn't anything. It was 100% my blades after the fact. So I make this mistake. I end up skating an Olympic record, a personal best by a few hundredths of a second. And, and I was happy for a split second. Then I'm like, that ain't going anywhere. That ain't shit. I'm dead. I'm dead in the water. And I knew it. And then I beat one Dutch guy, one of my best friends. He was, I think, in the next pair, and my time stood up against him, and I was like, oh, maybe I have a shot. And then it started to get knocked off, and I got 5th. Great. And then the 1,000 meter was American record, Olympic record for a moment, and 5th place. Not bad. I mean, considering the first World Cup of the year, I was they had 2 groups, A group and B group. A group is the guys going for medals. B group is not. You have to get top 2 in the B group to get into the A group. Now, all my results have been top 10s, even on a bad day. That first World Cup in those new skates, the clap skates,
the what skates?
I think I might have been second to last.
Oh,
so
shoot.
That throws me into the B group. So the next World Cup the next week, and I'm still getting used to these new skates. And we didn't talk about that. We probably should have talked about that before I'm getting into this, but. And then the next weekend I get second in the B group, and then the weekend after that I get 6th in the A group. So I'm working my way back up to the top. But anyway, the 1,000 meters next, and I skated as good as I could skate. I was paired with the guy who won the gold medal, and I mean I was just making little mistakes. So after that race, I had our technical guy look at my skates, and he's like, "Dude, your skates are a 22 in the back, and then they go up to a 19 in the front." So that meant they were really round in the front. So in my 1500, when I went off my toe, my skate dug in because my blades were too round. And once he fixed, we re-rocked them, we sharpened them, we rebent them, everything was perfect. I skated the 10K a couple days later, skated American record, 20K personal, or a 20-second personal best, American record, all that. I mean, skated out of my mind. So I come off the track and I'm so happy, and I was just so pleased with how that race went. That was, even though I ended up 8th place, that was my best Olympic experience. I mean, not just because the blades were bad and then they got fixed, but it was one of those races where I could go as hard as I could and I wasn't dying. I wasn't like going, oh my God, this is just, some 10Ks you're just like, this is the worst thing ever. And I was paired with a Russian guy he's gotten medals in these races. And I just dropped him towards the middle of the race. And I'm like, dude, I have a shot. And I'm just going as hard as I can. Come across the line, American record, personal best, all that's, it was just a fantastic, that's my, if people don't understand that sometimes it's not the placement, it's your race. It's how you performed in that one given moment. And that's what, that's my fondest memory of the Olympics.
How cool. Incredible.
Yeah, I was happy with it.
And then 2 more Olympics after that?
Yeah. The one in Salt Lake, I had a back injury in 2001. We were doing power cleans, and I was at a gym that didn't have the rubber weights, and I had to catch it on the way down. And I had I think it was 205 on the bar, and I go to catch it, and my back just kind of felt, I didn't hear a pop, nothing like that. It might have popped, but I was like, that was weird. And then I go to pick up the weight again, and I was like, oof, I could feel just my spine just moving. And so I put the weights away. I go get under the squat rack, 135. I come back. I'm doing my warm up. I'm like, doesn't feel great. And then I put, 225 on. I come back and I feel just this shifting in my spine. And I'm like, what the hell just happened? And mind you, I'm an American, but I was on a Dutch pro team, and we were up in Canada training, and we were racing that weekend. So I hurt my back. I go in, I'm starting to get worked on, and then a couple of days I'm pretty tight, and then I sign up for the races, and I'm like, yeah, I still want to race. I'm not dead. Back hurts, but I could still skate. I skate a 500, and I just literally skate off the line. I don't run like you see all these guys going for fat. They're going maximum. So I skate off the line, and I come within 3/10. Mind you, we're in the middle of summer. 3/10 are my personal best in the 500. Now I'm training for a 1500. So that means my speed and power are on point with an injury. So then, anyway, I had a back injury and skated that weekend. 500 was great. And then did a 3K after that and skated an American record.
Oh,
no
nice.
rest, no nothing. Just go out there and just pop off a fast one. And then the next day we were doing a 1500 and I couldn't move. So that was my back saying, yeah, you're done, dude. And so it would do this through the summer, get through the fall World Cups, and had a little bit of bad luck, and the back was bothering me. And at Olympic trials in the 500, I go to take my first step, and I literally shoot into the warm-up lane, like my back just blew out.
Oh, shoot.
And mind you, we're doing a 500 and then a 1500 probably an hour later. And so I'm in tears. My coach is like, what's wrong? I go, dude, I can't move. I can't skate. I can't do anything. And then I was down in the locker room, pissed off. And Bonnie Blair's husband, Dave Cruikshank, we were on 2 Olympic teams together, 94 and 98. He's a sprinter. And we're he and I were in the old guys' locker room where everybody else is, and, we're sitting there, and I'm down there. I don't remember if I was crying or not, because this was everything to me. 2002 is what really what I was going for. And he's like, well, you know what you have over all these other guys? Experience. You've got the knowledge. You've been here. You've done this. It doesn't bother you. And it made sense to me. And so I used to wear this weight vest, and this weight vest had a little belt on the inside because I couldn't put a weight belt, these big leather things, under my skin suit. So I took this little belt and I cinched it up as tight as I could, and it helped, but I couldn't breathe. So I wore this thing around my waist under my suit so nobody knew what was going on. And I went out there and I skated a darn good race in the 1500. And I missed the team by 1/100th of a second.
Oh.
Yeah, so.
Oh, jeez.
But I lost to a good friend of mine, and it was his first Olympic appearance. And I still had the opportunity to qualify in the 5,000 meter. So, I couldn't do any more sprinting. So I had to go strictly to distance. And then, went out and started doing more 5Ks and made the Olympic team. Qualified 31st out of 32 skaters. So I was almost the worst one. Barely got in through the time standard. So I was second pair at the Olympics, but I popped off a race, screwed so many people up. I sprinted because I knew my back was going to lock up later in the race, so I would slow down. So I went as fast as I possibly could from the start. Now these guys these days are skating the times that I was doing in the first part of this race. They're skating them all the way through. But back then, I was doing a 28 2-second lap, and everyone's like, oh my God, he's going so fast. It must be the ice. Everyone thought it was the ice. And since they were better than me, they thought they were going to go out there and do these fast lap times. So after my race, where I skated, I think it was 6:22, American record, blah, 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 personal best and I was so happy because I thought I was just going to go out there and die because I've been skating just so bad. And so all these guys after me, when they were getting on the ice and racing, after the first couple laps, they were seeing their lap times were way slower than mine because I went as fast as I possibly could, but I made it look easy. And so now they're behind me already like 5 seconds. And they're 3 laps into the race, they have to start sprinting. They have to start catching up. Where I died at the end. That's what got me. I mean, I went from, going fast to just barely getting across the line. Like I wanted to fall down. It hurt so bad. And so these guys would be so far behind that they couldn't catch up to what I did. I put so much time in the bank that at the time I was, I think, 1/10 of a second off of the 3,000 meter world record. So that's how fast I was going. And then now I had 5 laps to go. And I remember the announcer, I think it was 2 laps to go. Might have been 2 laps to go or 3 laps to go. I was still 2 seconds under the world record pace. And I could hear that. And then for some reason, I relaxed for a split second. And that's when the lactic started coming in. That announcement didn't do it, but it was just one of those things. Oh man, I'm ahead of the world record. I'm doing great. but I didn't have the energy in me to really bury the world record. It was just like try to hang on to just be close to it. So no, that was a great experience too, because I came from barely qualifying to being able to at least, pull off a fifth.
So you've had several American records over the years. Are any of them still standing?
Oh, no, not even close.
What is it? Just people, technology, and training?
Well, when I was coming up, we had the fixed blades, like a short track blade. It's boot, blade, nothing moves. Now they got the clap skate that opens up. I don't know if I have one around here. I don't think so. No. But it's attached in the front, and then the boot will actually lift, and the blade stays on the ice, and the boot lifts up. So it's like a cross country ski.
Oh,
when they ski skating, you could call it.
I did that once. It was the worst thing I've ever done.
What's that?
I did that. What do you call it? Skate skiing or whatever once.
Skate skiing, yeah.
I did like up at a steamboat. Worst thing I've ever done. It's horrible.
Well,
I was
plus
like,
you got altitude too, so you're gonna die.
Yeah, I did it with some like Olympic like biathlon guy too. He was like the guy leading us, whatever. And I was dying. Like I was looking to end it. I was hoping a bear was going to come out and get me. I was looking for a cliff. It was dying, and I'm just like, man, I was expecting to go I was going to go downhill skiing, and these people that I was flying for, you want to do this? I'm like, sure, I'll try it. Like, oh my gosh, and this guy was like, I'm so out of shape too, and he's like, yeah, he goes, I'm just like dying. He goes, yeah, I'm out of shape too. He's like an Olympic guy. I go, what do you weigh? Like $130? He's like 135. I'm like, you just need to stop.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's amazing where guys like that, if you're in the Olympics, you have the technique, and then you get a regular, like even myself, I'm a speed skater. And when I'm doing ski skating, and I see these guys, and I'm like, okay, I can try to copy their technique, and they're not the best guys. And I'm just trying to glide like them, trying to do this, and I'll fall over and all that. And I think I'm in okay shape, and I'm older, and these guys, the technique, that's why at my age, I can still come back and skate very fast because I have the technique. I don't have the power that I used to, but if I got in the gym and if I could get my power close to where it was, just do squats, leg press, just get the power there, my skating will be so much faster. You don't have to do any aerobic, anything. If you just have power, you're going to die. You're going to blow up because the speed skating is the worst sport ever because you have to have the power, and then you have to go out and do the aerobic capacity to be able to use that power to hang on at the end of a race.
Yeah,
where if I was just doing squats and I had power, I'd go really fast for a short amount of time, but then I'd blow up, which that's not my jam. I don't like that.
Nice. So you went from the Olympics to the pros, or were you? I'm sorry, to the Dutch team, or was that concurrently? Were you doing it at the same time?
I was doing it at the same time. In '98, going through the media zone, I announced that I wanted to the Dutch press that I wanted to do marathons the following year. Literally the next day, the phone was ringing because I've raced inline skates over there the last 4 years, and my contract with Rollerblade was ending in '98. And I'm like, well, how's the old guy going to make some money? And I was 28 back then. I'm like, I'm fast on the ice. I understand tactics because I'm good at inline racing in a group. And there was, and I used to go over to Holland and race. I was the first non-Dutch person to win an inline race in Holland because they've been doing it for so long. And inline skates came out, and I think it was '92. We went over to race in Holland, our whole team, and we got smashed. Our best guy was third, and that was amazing that he got third, and he was a good skater as well. But we were coming from quad skates, jumped on inlines, and now we're trying to compete with these guys that have been doing it for, 5, 6, 8, 10 years professionally. And so the Dutch knew me from doing that. And then I went over there a couple years later. I think I went to the Olympics in '94, and then I went over to Holland that year. And I have a funny story, but I don't know if went over that year and won the stage race, won this 3-day stage race. So these guys from back in '94, '95, I would travel over there once in a while and race on my inlines. And so after I went through the '98 Olympics and went through the media zone and said, I want to skate marathons, there was one team, one guy who knew that I would be successful on the ice. So he was bidding for me. I had like 4 teams coming after me So bidding was going up. And the one team I went with was literally no team. We were all individuals wearing the same uniform. They don't know how to race as a team. It was just stupid. But it ended up being perfect for me because when our best guy started to learn how to race like a team, it started working out better. But if I had gone with this other team, we would have had 2 stars on one team. You don't want that, because now I'm either winning the races or I'm being held back from winning. So I was on this just free team. I could do whatever I wanted. So the first race I was like, yeah, let's just skate easy, blah, blah, blah. Second race I fell down, and now I'm like, how am I going to win these things? And then I won 6 in a row. So that's how I would make some money to help compensate for what I was losing from inline skating over there, from rollerblade. So yeah, that's kind of how I became a pro in the Dutch eyes. And then just before 2002, my buddy, my best friend that I beat in '98, he's like, hey, would you be willing to skate with our team over here in Holland, TVM? We were looking for some international skaters. I'm like, absolutely. I signed a contract. It is easy, but everything's paid for. I'm traveling to Europe, traveling back, training with those guys. It was a perfect scenario for me. I mean, things were perfect. And so ever since, I've always kind of dabbled over in Holland skating. And then I'd come back to the U.S. and do the World Cup and Olympic thing. And so I've had a really, really awesome career.
Yeah, sounds like it. And then from there, moving on to, custom cycling shoes. How did that happen?
Yeah,
Rocket 7.
Yeah, a buddy of mine, Brian King, he was dabbling in the inline boot market, trying to make some skates for inline because that's what we did. He and I were teammates back in 90, I think it was 92. The first year inlines were really, really big. And he was really good. He was one of those guys that, if something came out, he was always on top of it and ahead of the curve. And it was exactly what he was. He was ahead of the curve. He was out there in California training and doing some stuff on these inline skates, became a national champion, and then he kind of disappeared for a while and started making shoes and started making boots. And then he's like, well, I'm going to start making cycling shoes. So he dabbled into the cycling market, gave a couple local guys some shoes, and it started to take off. And then after the 98 Olympics, he hired a buddy of mine, Dean Burke, who worked for K2 at the time. And I'm like, Brian, this Dean would be a perfect fit for you because Dean knows the other side of business. You make the stuff. Dean knows some of that, but he's marketing and he can scale. So Dean scaled the business, doing really well. And then Dean decided to go in a different direction. The money wasn't important. It was more like, I just want to do something else. And so Brian was kind of left on his own, and he didn't really care. Brian was a software guy, and so he wasn't necessarily doing Rocket 7 full time at this moment. So he's doing software. I call him up one day. I'm like, hey, I'm owning a bike shop. I'm living in Miami. It's 2008, 2009, I think it was. I was like, hey, and he shut Rocket 7 down. He was calling me up. He's like, hey, do you want to run Rocket 7? I'm like, no. I'm running a bike shop. And he's like, all right, well, I'm going to shut it down. And, if you don't want to do it, it's going to go in a container. I was like, dude, I can't. I just can't. So after he closed down, a few months later, I called him up. I was like, hey, you have that embroidery machine. Can I buy that from you? He's like, well, what about doing Rocket 7? And I was like, I thought about it for a couple weeks. Next thing you know, I'm up in Seattle loading up, pallets with all the stuff from Rocket 7. And we ship it out to Miami, and we set up shop and start making shoes back in 2010, and I'm still doing it. I love it.
Nice. And what was your bike shop in Miami? What was it called?
Elite Cycling and Fitness.
Where was it?
In Pinecrest. So it's just before one of the last bike shops before you get to the Everglades.
Got it. Okay, yeah, Pinecrest, little south. Yeah, I'm wondering because my wife lived down there forever, and she used to do triathlons and stuff. So I wonder if, she probably should shop there.
It's not mine anymore. It belongs to somebody else. So.
And so the Rocket 7. So you guys, you sell online, or is it to shops, or it's all custom, right?
Yeah, it's all custom. We only sell direct to consumer. If most of our business is people with odd shaped feet, wide feet that you can't fit into other shoes, or large, people with size 15, whatever. We've got some basketball players, size 53, biggest you can get. One of the Philadelphia Eagles, I think it's Melita, one of the linesmen. Yeah, he's wearing our shoes. We put the eagle on the side and all that stuff. It's pretty cool. It's all direct to consumer. We do everything. You can find us online. Just look up Custom Cycling Shoes or Rocket 7, and we pop up and we get started. You place an order, send you a molding kit. We do the molding kit either FaceTime or Zoom, and we have videos that show you how to do it. But I always overlook everything to make sure it's done correctly. And and then we start building the shoes. We take a mold of people's feet, use plaster. We pour plaster into the mold, and then start wrapping carbon around that. And then we wrap the upper around that, and then you end up with.
Yeah, I got to see this.
You end up with a pair of kicks. Now, mind you, this is not a normal foot. This is the type of person that needs this shoe.
Wow,
that's a box, shape. Literally. That's not normal. A normal shoe would be. Oh yeah, I don't even know where one.
That looks like a flipper. I'd take that thing in the pool.
No, it's definitely a different. Here's a normal. I hate to say normal because this isn't a normal shape.
Sure. Yeah.
That's the stock. That's the what everybody uses, and then you've got someone with this foot trying to jam into this.
Oh yeah, forget it.
This is the majority of our business right
here.
That
person should be a swimmer. They could probably
That's what I was saying. Records. I was like, you got to be. He does triathlon. Him and his kid. They're both they both have similar feet. So
they have an advantage. If you guys are watching on YouTube, as you should be, yeah, those things are some flippers. Good Lord.
Yeah, and our shoes are lighter than anything else out there. So we hand lay our carbon different for the weight of the person. So everything, it all changes with the weight and the style that the person's riding. I made a shoe for a guy that's only climbing mountains, and it's like paper. I put enough carbon here to hold a cleat on, and then everything else is just really thin. And we make it as light as possible. So when they're climbing in the mountains, they're not carrying as much weight.
Yeah, smart. Jeez, yeah, that's cool. That's terrifying for me, actually, that climbing stuff. But you live in Colorado. You probably climb too, huh?
I used to. Well, you mean like rock climbing?
Yeah, do you any of that stuff?
Well, I do. I mean, I did American Ninja Warrior, which you would say that they would. Hold on, dude. This thing. Oh, I have a.
Yeah, you did that in Tacoma, right? Tacoma. Did you do that in like the Tacoma Dome or something?
I did the one in the Tacoma Dome. Yeah, that was a blast. I didn't have much grip strength, and I was just getting started in the sport. And I'm good with technique, but I'm not good with power, like hand strength power stuff. It's going to get me every time because I'm not. One, I don't practice every day or even every week. I'll do pull-ups and I'll try to do things, but I just don't have time. And so when I get to the competitions, it's like cram for the exam, and then I get there and I'm like, okay. This is good. I'm gonna be, I should be all right. But then all of a sudden I see an obstacle. It's like, man, there was this big wheel, and it had a handle at the top, and you climb up the side, and you're standing, you reach over and you grab this thing, and you have to jump off this platform, and they tell you in the rules that like if the handle's up here at the top, so you climb up, you grab it, you have to jump off at the same time, and this handle's going to go in this direction, and I mean it's going to whip you. So, but they tell you can't move the wheel until you jump off. Those were the rules. And so I jump off and go to move this thing at the same time, and my body goes like straight down, and this thing's going like this, and then it just whips me, snaps me forward, and I go whipping into the pad. I'm not going to make it. And then I see what other people are doing after the fact. And it's like they're at the top and they're grabbing the handle. they're moving it and then jumping at the same time, kicking their feet back, and then riding it out. That was like perfect technique. And I wasn't knowledge. I didn't know the sport well enough. And even if I did go way out there, I wouldn't trust my hands. They would just peel out. I mean, you see these people that are on rope swings coming off the cliff, going into water, and they just go,
yeah.
That's me.
So you're on TV doing that, right?
Yep. Been on a few times.
American Ninja, is it American Ninja Warrior? Is that what it's called? Or what's
Yep, American Ninja Warrior. And we just finished taping a few months back, and I think that'll start airing probably in the spring, something like that. Yeah.
Oh, cool. You've done a lot of really cool stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't say accomplished. I've done a lot of cool
I'd say
stuff.
accomplished. I'd say accomplished. Yeah, and you're able to also work in nap times. You said too. I think one of our tech streams. That makes you a hero of mine. Yeah. So for those listening, I was texting KC the other day, and I was flying, and you were home napping. He's like, "I'm gonna take a nap." Like, I'm gonna take a nap too. And so that was, which is frowned upon if I were to do it then. But yeah.
You know what's crazy is like if you're training and you're trying to do something, at my age, your body just can't take it because you have responsibilities. You have other stuff that you got to do. And, I've helped myself by being like, I got to shut down. If it's even for 10 minutes where I sit in a chair and just shut my eyes and put my feet up, that helps more than anything. And like yesterday I had to do it. I was like on my feet a lot, and I was just I'm trying to get a bunch of this stuff done because we have something going on in the next couple weeks that I'm not going to have a lot of time to work, so I'm trying to get ahead of the game. And I'm like, man, I just got to stop. And because normally you just keep going, but when I'm done working, or because we have an au pair that watches my special needs daughter, and when she's off work, we take care of our kids, and so it's like, man, I'm not going to make it. And it was like, 6:00, and I'm like, I got to eat a little bit, and we're going out to dinner at 7. So I'm like, I'm starving because I don't eat most of the day. I eat a little snack and I go lay down, and it was just like 7 minutes of just like shut down time. And I wear one of these Oura rings, one of these Oura rings.
Yeah, I see you're flipping me off now. Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah.
And it asks if you just took a nap, and it'd be like 3 minutes. It knows when your body is shutting down, and it gives me, kudos for doing that because I don't sleep a lot at night. I'm just a lot going on, and any little noise. I mean, I have a special needs daughter, and any little noise that's made, I wake up just because of the terrifying things that we've been through with her. My wife. Way back when she was just, a newborn, she was laying next to my wife in the crib, or her baby thing, whatever it is, and she hears this, just that, and we knew that she had something wrong with her, but we didn't know exactly what it was. And Christy was like, well, that was weird. So she gets up, she turns the light off, no movement, no nothing. She's choking. So yeah, she ended up having something that she had she had 2 holes in her heart, but when she would swallow, fluid was going into her lungs. So every time that we were feeding her, she was drowning.
Oh no.
We didn't know that.
Geez. Yeah.
And so she, any fluid, even just spit in your mouth, and you go to swallow it, and you can't get rid of it, it's going into her lungs, and she's, coughing it up. So as Christy revives our daughter, it was pretty traumatic. And so all these noises, and I could almost say if Christy wasn't there and that was me, I'm a guy, I would have been like, no big deal. She just coughed.
Yeah, right.
And that would have been it, which I'm so thankful that it wasn't me because, I mean, but now I've got this PTSD where it's like I just can't. Every little noise you wake up to. Now my daughter, she's 10 now. She sleeps in the basement on the couch. we've tried to get her in her. I mean, I built out a room in the basement for her and all this stuff, and she won't sleep in a bedroom. We even put these like, what are they? Just like closet doors. I come in one day, the closet doors are ripped off because she's like, ding, ding, open and close, and then she's pulling on them and then rips them off. She doesn't know what she's doing. She's deaf and she's mentally slow. So there's and she can't walk. So she's on the ground looking up and she's just grabbing things and she doesn't know. Yeah. And so she won't sleep in her room, and I have a camera up there and everything, so we could just watch her because she would always get up and go out to the couch. So the couch is where she sleeps. She's got I think it's a 65 or 70 inch TV all to herself. Yeah. And she can't really communicate much, but she puts her hand out when she wants something, and that means turn it on. And we put it on certain shows for her, so she sleeps, but you can hear things through the vent. So when she wakes up, she's very vocal. She's like she uses these moans and groans and So when she's coming upstairs, because she's always happy when she wakes. She's just a happy girl. So you hear these things and you wake up instantly. You hear a clunk. You hear anything. Me and the wife, we just don't sleep well anymore just because of this terrifying, traumatic thing that happened. I think all parents are that way, but for us, it's next level.
I bet. No, that makes sense. I get that. Yeah. I mean, that would be a permanent thing. Yeah. Being that close to something so major. Yeah. Well,
and just the other day, that's no big deal. Oh, my cat had a heart attack and went wow, and me and my wife walk out and see the cat laying on the floor, and we're like no, and we're trying to revive him and all this stuff, and we know he had a heart attack because he's only 14, but he's just like a kitten playing, but he's big. He looked like a Black Panther. He was so big, and he was overweight. And so the only thing we could think of is that he just had a heart attack. It was his time. But it's like all the these noises, like the noise he made, it's like a trigger, and you just instantly react. My wife and I were, for some reason, she's working in the basement. That's where her office is. But we're talking, and all of a sudden we hear this noise, and we just like shoot out, and he's on the ground. And it's like, no, this can't happen. You don't ever want to see your cat just go right in front of you, because then I'm reviving the cat, and then he's making these noises, and his eyes are like doing these things, and it was not. I'm glad the kids weren't around. That's for sure. So.
Yeah, no kidding. And how old are your other kids?
I got a 13-year-old punk and a 6-year-old, 22-year-old.
Oh, nice. No,
she's 6, and when she's typical, she's a great kid. And then when she's hungry, she's not a great kid and tired. There you go. Yeah. And my 13-year-old, he's at that age where he's the boss. He knows better than everybody else, and he's a great kid. But he's just at that age. Yeah.
Are either of them following in your footsteps in the skating?
No, my 6-year-old, she wants to. She's like into the Olympics. Mm-hmm. She wants to watch the speed skating and all this stuff. And at school, they gave her this little program, like less than 2 hours of screen time. And if you're less than 2 hours, you get to check the box. Oh. And you go out and exercise or do something for an hour. But my daughter, Boone, thinks, I got to get on the treadmill for an hour. And I'm like, and I started to explain to her heart rates and things like that, because I put a heart rate monitor on her, and her heart rate, just jogging is like 175, and I'm like, this is amazing. Like she's definitely got, me and the wife's heart for that stuff. Yeah. And my boy, he's skateboarding and he's doing some snowboard cross, so he's enjoying that. He doesn't understand how to really get to top sport. He just he's good at things, and he's happy with being good, you know. And I don't know how he does it, but he wins these competitions, and I'm like, dude, you don't even train. You just do it. I go, do you not realize what you could do if you just did a little bit of cross training? So, yeah, I would like to see him cross train a little bit more, because he'd be a beast at whatever he wants to be.
I have a feeling he's going to be.
I hope.
Okay, and I have to ask you too. You were on Jay Leno?
I was at Jay Leno.
Jay Leno.
Yeah, my ex-wife, her and a couple of the skeleton girls, they got medals at the Olympics, and they're like, the NBC jet, you're going to go out to Jay Leno if you want, blah, blah, blah. And I had to go. So it was pretty cool. I went out there and had a blast. I was in the audience, and they were going to, pan out all that stuff. But it was not even, I don't really care about that stuff. But it was one of those things where I got to go watch a show. You'd never think that you'd get to go see how that stuff runs. And the time it actually, is taped and then shown at night. Oh, it was a blast. Yeah.
I bet. And you got to fly in a private jet, you said, right?
Flying a private jet, yes, I did. It was
not a bad way to get around, is it?
That is definitely, man. I don't ever want to do that again. It's so time consuming and such a hassle.
Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah, I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
Oh my God, no. So we had a blast. We flying back to Salt Lake City. Every private jet had to stop in Vegas and get checked out, and then go in, because if someone's coming from Atlanta or wherever and just go straight into Salt Lake, they just weren't having that. So there was a security.
It was some post 9/11 thing you said, right?
Yeah, it was 9/11. That was security was just so tight at that Olympics. It was ridiculous. I mean, I've got a story about me trying to get into the village that was just ridiculous, and being your home country and can't even get into the village, and it was just a joke. But security was pretty high. So you stop in Vegas, you get checked out, and it was a quick stop, and then you get off the plane for a minute and you get back on, and they check all your bags. And so the pilots, they were great. We took off and they just kind of hovered for a bit, and then they juiced it, and we just sunk in the seats, and then you get up to the top, and then they like free fall until you level out. And I mean, all of us are screaming. And back then there was no cameras or anything. I mean, we had cameras, but you had to take flash pictures because it was like super dark, and you see these pictures of like half a face and a hand in the air, and that was it was a blast.
Very cool. Yeah, I don't know what that's like having cool pilots.
Yeah. You don't, do you?
No, that's cool. That's awesome. All right, so hey, in Casey, for contentment, what's contentment to you? What does it look like? Is it attainable? What is it?
Contentment? Being able to, I'll be content when my wife doesn't have to work as hard. It's pretty much it, and I've been working hard to get to that point to relieve some of the pressure off of her, and my life was supposed to be in speed skating. I'm supposed to be coaching. I'm supposed to be that's supposed to be my life. And unfortunately, I got pulled away from it in 2007 by moving down to Miami and opening a bike shop, which, was a nightmare. But that's what brought me to my wife. Because before 2006, even before the Olympics, I was setting up an online shop, and I was setting up, I bought a rock machine. I did all these things. A rock machine is where you put the radius on the blades, and I was going to, do all this stuff. I was just setting up my future, and then I was going to start coaching. So, and I was going to bring inline skaters over to the ice. I had all this stuff planned, and then it just changed in a split second, which, you support the person you're with, and you got to do, what you feel is right at the time. And for me, I did kind of know that staying in Salt Lake or Park City should have been my calling, and just start coaching and helping people. But it took a different route. I'm glad I did, because but it took me away from skating. It took me away from coaching. It took me away from all the things that I love. And even at the 2006 closing ceremonies, me and one of the other skaters, Bart Veldkamp, I was like, dude, next Olympics, I'm going to try skeleton. I'm going to do the 1,500 meter in cross country ski. I'm going to try to speed skate. I'm going to try to make different sports. And he's like, dude, you're thinking just like me. And I'm like, and we just start laughing, because we're both we love skating so much. And now he's the Olympic gold medalist from 1992 in the 10,000 meter. So he's been doing it forever. And so we're talking at the closing ceremonies just before we're walking into the stadium, saying these things and just laughing, just like, oh my God, like I can't believe that we're talking about the same. I mean, he was wanting to do the same. He ended up starting to coach for the U.S. team after that. Oddly enough, I think it was after 2006. He started coaching the U.S. team a couple of years later. But anyway, that was what I was. My mind is just around sport. And, when I got pulled away from that, and now with iPhones, easy videos, people can send you videos. I analyze a lot of people online. They'll send me videos and I just look at them and I'm like, all right, I'll get back to you later. And then I think about their technique and what I'm trying to analyze. And then I get back to them and say, okay, do this with your shoulder, do this with your hip. This will cause this, and then will help you. And try to do this in the weight room or whatever it is. It's just little things that if I was coaching, I'd be engulfed in it. But I wouldn't think it was a job because that's just second nature to me, And like now I'm working, I'm grinding shoes, I'm doing all this stuff, which I enjoy. I love helping people, but it's not coaching. It's not making, in the US we have a handful of skaters. In Holland they have a country full of skaters. So we have to take this handful of skaters and make them great. We have to use all the resources, all the knowledge that we have, and whatever strengths that these skaters have, we have to exploit them to the fullest to make them great. And, in Holland, they get great skaters, just dropping from the ceilings. And, back in the day, the Dutch were, so strong. And I would look at the technique of some of these guys and like just so strong, they could just go fast, just push. And now you see these guys skating with, the Dutch skaters, for example, skating with perfect technique, much better technique than back when I was skating because it was just muscling. And the technique has changed so much. And the U.S., we trickle in a few good skaters here and there that sneak in and win a few. And now we've got this Jordan Stoltz kid who is just a beast. He's already shown that he's winning the 1,000 and He's moving on to bigger and better things, but he's a phenomenon. But he's got the strength and the technique all dialed in one, where the Dutch, it's the strong survive. In the U.S., swimming, strong survive. You take 20 athletes, throw them in a pool. Whoever gets to the other end first, all right, you first three are going to go in this, this side group. The rest of you can just disappear. And they're doing that at 10 pools in one city. Now you've got 30 people. The 30 winners from these 10 pools going against each other. You take the top 3 from there. Now we're going to go against the next county over, and you just, it's a funneling process. The strong survive, coaching or not. Doesn't matter who's coaching. Doesn't matter who's saying what. It's the good athletes will prevail with figuring things out with techniques, swimming, skating, running, whatever it is. They will be good regardless of coaching. And then when you dial in the coach and you dial in the athlete, that's when you get greatness. And that's why you see a lot of the U.S. athletes, smashing things, because we use every resource we can to make our teams good. The small sports, running, you've got all these individual coaches who, feel they know the right way, or this coach feels they know the right way. 2 athletes going just as fast, doing totally different programs, in totally different parts of the U.S. in running. And then they come together and battle, and they're this. I mean, that's just grit,
Yeah. Nice. Well, Casey, thank you so much for your time, man. I appreciate making time for me. We've been kicking it around a little bit here. I really appreciate you. And what a cool story. And I'm going to watch the American Ninja Warrior stuff too. And
it should be, when they film this one, I'll make it. I should make it on the cut because I'm creating a shoe. Yeah, I got one right here.
All right, let's see it.
Me and Jessie Graff, she's one of the most popular people on the show, in my opinion. She's the one who dresses in Wonder Woman and stuff. I took her out for an inline skate. I saw a thing online, and she's like doing sprinting on rollerblades, and I'm like, whoa, you need your hands. And if you keep doing this, you could crash and break your hand, wrist, arm, whatever. And so I reached out to a friend of mine. I'm like, hey, reach out to her and tell her I'll give her a lesson, blah, blah, blah. So she doesn't respond or anything like that. And then I see her on the set of American Ninja Warrior, and I'm like, hey, I'm Casey. Oh, she's like, yo, you're the skater. And I go, yeah, if you ever want a lesson, let me know. So a couple months later, we connect, and I take her out for the lesson, and she's learning, how much I'm making shoes. I make American Ninja Warrior shoes. I do a lot of different things. And she's like, I'm going to tell you my idea. And then she tells me this idea of making a high heel that collapses. And it really wasn't clear in my head. And I'm like, you know what, Jess, why don't you come to, me and the whole family were in Southern California. I go, come to our hotel room. We'll talk. I'll mold your feet, and we'll make you we'll start thinking about making some custom shoes for you. So we molded her foot on a high platform. Here's actually a mold of her. We molded a total high heel looking, mold, and then we created a shoe, and this is what we came up with. So this high heel shoe, and her idea was, because she's a stunt woman as well. Mm-hmm. So her idea is to be able to look like you're wearing a high heel shoe, because she's on the red carpet. She wants to do backflips and back handsprings. In high heels, she's going to break her ankle. So she wanted a shoe where she could do everything. So this shoe literally collapses. So she can run in this shoe. So no matter what. Yeah. So my idea, so there's things in here that are holding her foot up, but they're very flexible, and this whole thing. So you have to roll up on your toes, and you'll look like you're in a high heel shoe. And then when you want to go run or do a backflip or just working at the office, you can sit there and you don't have to be in these high, uncomfortable shoes.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
So these are still prototypes, and this is a 3D printed, we call it a wedge. And we're experimenting with putting material over the top before we go public with it. We have it patented and everything. And so this is the next project.
Good for you, man.
A lot of fun stuff in the works.
Yeah. We'll keep on top.
So as I was talking, American Ninja Warrior.
Yeah.
That shoe, I'll probably make the cut. You'll probably see my run because she's on my sideline cheering for me. She's actually kind of my coach. So, and we're business partners. It's a perfect scenario.
Perfect. American Ninja Warrior. Yeah, we'll be watching for that, and watching the Olympics and thinking about you and how you open the door for a lot of these people to where we're hopefully see some American greatness in there. Yeah,
there's going to be some. Jordan Stoltz. Just remember the name, folks. He's going to be the guy to. He's already won 1 gold, and he's got 3 more races left to impress everybody with.
Nice.
The kid is like, you've got Eric Heiden, 5-time Olympic gold medalist. No one's ever going to do that again. But Jordan's as close as someone could get if he was to really give it a go. But nowadays, like Jordan, if he wins Sunday in the 500, it's going to be a close victory, because there's guys that are just like right nipping at his heels. But he's racing those races. When he gets beat, he's at a World Cup weekend. So he's doing a 500, 1,000, a 1,500, a mass start, all these races, multiple races, and he's still on the podium in a lot of them. So now he's racing once, now he can rest. He's got 3 days before his next race.
Oh, so nice. Yeah.
That's where he's going to be on fire. So
yeah. Good. We'll look out for him.
Yeah, man.
Well, Casey, thank you for joining, and thank you for everyone listening. And please, check out Rocket 7 Shoes. And please, if you're listening to this, get on our YouTube channel, subscribe. That'd be awesome. Leave a comment or a like or whatever. We love it. And keep following us. And we appreciate you. And Casey, God bless you, man. God bless your family.
Thank you.
And God bless everyone listening. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.